So, you'd like to get better at JGS, huh? Or, well, at the very least, learn how the game functions. I got you covered, don't worry about it. I'll cover everything there is to know, from basic controls to character-specific tech, if there's any, of course. Before I go further, I'd like to still ask you not to take this game incredibly seriously. There's a difference between being entirely clueless and getting your ass whooped, and actually knowing what you're doing. But at the end of the day, understand you're playing a game, you will lose, you will get whooped, there's no reason to be mean to each other in pubs. Oh yeah, one more thing. I'm going to be assuming that you're playing on a personal computer and not a mobile device or a console. I don't have access to those, so I don't exactly know the control scheme and how everything works there. With that out of the way, let's get going. Alright, first let's get familiar with the most important mechanic of the game, being the dashes. You can dash in two different directions, either side or, well, straight forward. The straightforward dash is going to launch a punch forward that is going to be able to catch your opponents. Pretty simple so far, right? Well, the side dash is basically a movement tech. And when I say tech from here on out, I will be referring to just technique, for short, basically. The Honored One, or Gojo, is the character you'll start playing as, so learning how to use him properly I think is pretty important. Although, I'd assume that if you got to this video, you'd probably tried out other characters anyway. Difficulty-wise, Gojo is in my opinion the lowest skill floor character, meaning he's pretty simple to use. His abilities are synergetic and all flow into each other naturally. And with that said, let's cover his moveset. Before we talk about moves, I should probably mention that every single character has a special passive, so to speak. By pressing R, Gojo can teleport to the opponent. It has two variations when combined with moves. I'll talk more about those when we get there. In order to activate Gojo's teleport, you will need some ultimate bar. This only applies to him, and him only. Keep that in mind since it could mean you delay your ultimate mode. Gojo's first move is Blue. It's a combo extender that works on ragdolled enemies. I highly encourage not to throw this move out while in neutral or mid-range, as it's very predictable and punishable. It can be blocked and also ragdolled out of. Blue also has a variation. After landing Blue, move your camera up to the opponent and press R. I've seen people be able to ragdoll cancel out of this variation as well, but from experience, it's highly inconsistent. I recommend waiting until you get kicked down and then use your cancel. Speaking of ragdoll cancels, I should probably explain what they are. Since the combat in this game is true stun, ragdoll canceling is a way to escape combos and reset back to neutral. Most moves have a gap between them, making it impossible to combo further unless your opponent has exhausted their ragdoll cancel. You use the cancel by pressing Q to dash out of the opponent. Gojo's second move is Red. Red is a projectile that works on grounded opponents and is very punishable on whiffing or when blocked. It destroys the map really well and it can be used during combos. It can also be countered by specific moves, but I'll get into those later. Red also has a variant. After using Red, press R to teleport behind your opponent and hit them. The move is reactable, and with good enough tracking you can completely block it. You can also sometimes just move out of the way. Red can also be used in combination with blue, like shown on the screen right now. Simply use blue, then red, then press R. This will make it so you do the kick, and then use red right behind your opponent. Gojo's third move is Rapid Punches. Normally, this would be your combo starter. The move is unblockable but can be countered, just like his previous moves. Lastly, there's Twofold Kick. This one's a bit quirky. The first hit of the move is blockable, but the second one isn't. You can block the first hit, and then hit the opponent before they hit you with the second. It has a special property where you're able to hit grounded opponents. Since we now understand how all of Gojo's moves function, I'll be showing you some combos you're able to perform. They will go up in difficulty, of course. I suggest testing them out in a private server with unlimited cooldowns. One more thing to note, Gojo doesn't have any true combos. You will always need to deplete your opponent's ragdoll cancel before being able to hit them with another move. Without dragging this further, here they are. This one is your bread and butter. 3 mouse 1 clicks, into Rapid Punches, into blue variant, and then red. It shouldn't be that difficult given the fact you're just pressing 4 buttons in a row. The next combo will require us to learn about down slamming and uppercutting. Neither of these mechanics are explained to the player and are just assumed to be common knowledge. In order to perform a slam, you will need to first use 3 mouse 1 clicks. For reference, that's your left mouse, and from now on will be referred as 2 M1s. Anyway, simply use 3 M1s and then jump. While in the air, use a 4th M1. That will perform a down slam. Uppercutting works by pressing the spacebar at the same time as your 4th M1. The timing does take a little bit to get used to, so practice it if you'd like. The only characters that make use of uppercutting within combos at the moment are Gojo and Hakari. We'll get to him later. Now, here's the other, more complicated combo. The timing on this one is pretty strict, particularly into linking Twofold Kick into Rapid Punches. If you believe that's too much to handle, here's an alternative. The main issue with this combo is that Rapid Punches can easily be countered, thus ragdolling you. Because it's an unblockable move, it will catch your opponent before they can get away from you. I must reiterate that exhausting your opponent's ragdoll is very important to do any of these combos. And now, it's finally time to talk about Gojo's ultimate, 6 Eyes. Upon pressing G while your bar is full, you will activate your awakening. You'll get 4 different moves. In the case of Gojo, none of them really link together, for better or worse. Max Blue is a ball of death pretty much. I recommend always using it in the air. Just point at who you want to die, and the deed is done. Upon gaining a kill, the ball will linger in the area. We'll talk about that in just a bit. Your next move is Max Red, a laser beam. Just like Max Blue, it's unblockable and actually has a variant. After hitting or even missing, press R to bring your enemy to you and perform a black flash. Now, remember when I talked about the Max Blue lingering around? This is what happens when you combine a Max Blue with a Max Red. The community, or at the very least I call it the Hollow Nuke. Upon making a Hollow Nuke, you will instantly use your ultimate mode, so be mindful of that. Next is Hollow Purple. Grounded Hollow Purple is very flawed and frankly useless. Enemies can stand in front of you and fully avoid the move. You do gain invincibility while casting the attack, but it's useless if you cannot hit anyone. Always do Hollow Purple in air. Your last move is Infinite Void. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If you get hit by it, or basically any domain with one exception, you're just dead. Plain and simple. While in Infinite Void, you cannot move, defend, or do anything. It's a free kill move. Always use your domain after your opponent has Ragdoll cancelled, and after you land a slam. Otherwise, just jump people with this move and you should be fine. Yuji, or Vessel, is the premier rushdown of the cast. His abilities are simple to use and understand, which is pretty in character if you ask me. He's the only one in the game that starts with less health than others, which is a bit odd given that in universe he's kind of a tank. Well, it's probably because of the amount of damage he actually does. In terms of difficulty, I would say he ranks a bit higher than Gojo, but he's still not that complicated to play or do. I would say he's about average. The combo variety for this character is basically non-existent. You'll be doing the same strings over and over again, because otherwise his moves will simply not link together. He is also the introduction of the counter mechanic in this game, which should be played around at all times. As of the date of uploading this video, I'd say Yuji's the best 1 vs 1 character, having lots of guaranteed damage. In fact, he actually got nerfed a while ago because you were able to guaranteed link 3 moves together. He has every tool you could possibly need, and even his ultimate moves go well together. He does tend to struggle against getting jumped, but you could make the argument that every character has that flaw. I'll go over a way to at least put up a fight versus teamers after we're done with all of the 5 characters currently in the game. For now, let's go over his moveset, do's and don'ts. Yuji's first move is Curse Strikes, an amazing combo extender that does a lot of damage and launches your character forward. Its main downside is the punishment of whiffing the move. It's blockable as well. If it's not obvious by now, against any competent opponent that knows how to block, you don't really want to throw this move out in neutral. In fact, I'd say getting hit by this move while in neutral is one of the most disrespectful things you could possibly do. The best case scenario is for you to use this move after 3 M1s to guarantee you link the move. It's incredibly ping based, so if the server you're playing on is garbage or your internet just hates you, it's near impossible to combo into this. Unless the opponent has a counter, you can also hit them instantly after your 4th M1, before they get a chance to get up and block. Curse Strikes also has an air variant. It's used as a mix-up tool, and is unblockable. Given how much the wind-up of the move is, I think it's pretty fair. The air version is also counterable, so keep that in mind. Now we should also talk about Yuji's special ability, the Feint. By pressing R while in the wind-up of a move, you're able to cancel it. The cooldown of the move itself won't be consumed, but the Feint has a cooldown of its own, so keep that in mind. You can feint every single move in your arsenal besides the counter. Everything else is fair game. We'll go over the mechanics of the counter in just a bit. Just keep this information in the back of your mind, alright? Next up, Crushing Blow. It has 2 versions, one grounded and the other one in the air. The grounded version is a simple mix-up tool or combo finisher that's unblockable. You're able to hit your opponent if you can react in time with M1s while they cast this move. The air version is both a mobility tool and a way to link your moves together. Unlike the ground version, it's fully blockable. Up next is probably the most satisfying move to hit in the entire game, the Divergent Fist. You have to press 3 twice in order to perform a black flash, otherwise the move will deal less damage. It's unblockable and can be interrupted if you know what's coming or react to it. But I won't lie, reacting on roadblocks is kinda difficult given how the engine functions. Anyway, while using the move, look at your arm. When it's all the way to the back, press 3 again to do the black flash. You can also do the black flash when your avatar turns light, but me personally, I got the timing down to muscle memory, so I don't need visual indicators anymore. I highly suggest just training in a private server with unlimited cooldowns. Lastly, we finally get to touch on Manji Kick, Yuji's counter. It has a lot of active frames, and is overall pretty obvious. That's done on purpose, of course. The counter works on borderline everything in the game with a few exceptions that I know of. Hollow Purple cannot be countered as far as I'm aware, nor can World Slash. I haven't mentioned that move at all in this video yet. However, I feel like it still needed to be mentioned since I'm working in order. There's 2 World Slashes in the game, neither of which can be countered. Besides that, projectiles, Gojo's blue, trash cans, and just regular moves can basically be countered at all times. Now let me show you basically the only Yuji combo you have to know. It's kind of his only reliable combo anyway. Anything else is just freestyle on your end. The first combo used to be true a patch ago due to how the ragdoll functioned after getting black flashed. You'll have to exhaust your opponent's ragdoll cancel if you want to connect Divergent Fist into Crushing Blow now. The second combo is reliant on both the ragdoll cancel being used, as well as the enemy having no counter. Although you can't block, you can use Manji Kick or the next character's counter to flip the situation. I haven't mentioned this, but you're able to ragdoll cancel from all of Yuji's base moves, with the exception of grounded curse strikes. Now let's talk about his ultimate mode. You activate it the same way as Gojo. By dealing damage, your bar will fill up. Unlike him though, using your feint won't drain your ultimate mode. His moves are lethal as expected, and once again, getting hit by his domain expansion is basically death. Upon entering ultimate mode, your M1s will now gain a ranged property at the cost of being blockable from all sides. This will be a pressure tool that you'll be using to set up your opponent into unblockable moves. Your M1s can also be countered by Manji Kick, so please keep that in mind. Your first move is Dismantle, a generic big damage kind of attack. It works on ragdolled opponents and can also be used to extend combos. It's fully blockable, and I haven't seen anyone try to counter it. My advice is, try not to push your luck, as it's likely not even counterable to begin with. Second move is Open. It's a projectile that can be countered. If anyone tries to do that to you, I advise aiming at a building or something that can clip them. It's not possible to counter the blast, just the arrow itself. It leaves you vulnerable at the beginning, then gives you full invincibility. This move is really great inside your domain as it's unblockable. Rush, your third move, is once again unblockable. It sets up perfectly into a domain, or allows you to safely use Open. It can be used to finish your combos also. This move can be countered by Manji Kick and the other counter in the game. I'll get into combos later. Lastly, your domain. You set up into it the same way as Gojo does, by baiting ragdolls and slamming your opponent into a domain. Malevolent Shrine is the most damaging move in the game, being able to wipe out the entire server if done right. It deals damage over time as its effect. It can be blocked, but if you're alone with the Yuji player inside the domain, you're dead anyway, as they have a lot of unblockable moves to hit you with. Before we get into combos, let me touch on your new ability, Cleave. By pressing R next to an opponent, you grab them and deal massive damage. It's unblockable and can be used to mix up your opponent while they're blocking your M1s inside your domain. It's also a tool to combo extend. By now, within the community, this is common knowledge, I'd say. You're able to do a world slash in your ultimate mode by pressing 1, 3, 2, and then R in quick succession. This nearly one-shots your opponent, but you have no invincibility whatsoever and can be interrupted. It takes an absurd amount of time to cast, and you can run away from the move. I'd still suggest hitting the opponent if they try to use this move on you though. You can't use it to wipe tons of people, as it does less damage the more players it hits. Another downside is that Word Slash will consume all of your cooldowns, whether it works or not. It's incredibly risky, and you'll end up defenseless afterwards. I highly recommend not using this move in a competitive setting, unless you're just trolling. It should just be a fun tool to mess around in pubs. Let's get into the third available character, Hakari. Currently, my favorite to play as, Hakari is a rewarding character that does require some technical skill, and of course, luck. I mean, that's a huge part of his character after all. Regardless, let me speedrun this, as the video is getting quite long. His first move is a projectile. It deals very little damage, and is used as a poke and confirm tool. It has a special property that allows it to be used with his second move to convert it into a combo. It's difficult to hit and must be done prior to the ball hitting. It's very risky and sacrifices both of the cooldowns. His second move is the M1 reset tool. It does pretty good damage and can even have some range. Unlock your camera and look in the general direction of your opponent. The doors will snap to them and potentially catch them off guard. Third move is a guard break. Obviously, it can't be blocked, duh, so use it like Divergent Fist to make mix-ups. I forgot to mention this, but all of his moves, including this one, are fully counterable by Montage Kick. Yes, even his fourth one, which we're gonna get into now. His fourth move doesn't really have any unique properties, it kinda just deals damage and throws the opponent far away. It's one of the few times I recommend using the first move's quirk to extend your combos, as the opponent is ragdolled. Don't forget, they're able to escape any of his moves after getting hit. And finally, his ability, Worst Manji Kick. Yep, it's a counter that can't follow up on thrown objects or projectiles. You must get hit up close to deal any damage back. It has a use inside of his ultimate mode, but that's about it. So let's actually get into the fun stuff, his ultimate. Idle Death Gamble, his ultimate, places both you and any opponents nearby inside of a domain. Inside this domain, you must use 4 specific moves to gamble for crazy health regen. If you win, the only thing that could possibly kill you are 2 hollow purples launched at you at the same time, and Mahito's domain and First Awakened move. Currently, he is an early access character, so I won't go over him. His domain is quite a bit more complicated than the others, so please bear with me here. You gotta use 2 abilities in order to obtain a roll. I say use because reserve balls and shutter doors just have to be thrown out and not hit for this, but his 4th move and counter need to be hit. Now just repeat this process until you win. There is a pity system in play. If you fail 3 times, you'll be guaranteed to win the next time you roll. His domain is particularly susceptible to outside damage, and if it gets destroyed, well, goodbye ult. You can also get invaded by people, and they can also glitch inside of it too, so it's quite literally a gamble if you pull it off or not. Okay, so real quick, off script. In the time that it's taken me to, well, work on this video, the devs released 10 Shadows or Megumi to the public, which I wasn't planning on covering, and I still don't, because I don't want to do it. I'm not having fun working on the video anymore, so I'm simply not going to. Sorry about that. Let me just quickly go over Hakari's ultimate moves, and oh, they're just really cool punches and kicks. There's really nothing special. His ability makes it so you hit the moves faster, the wind up is faster, and you do a cool dance. The ultimate is drained when you get hit faster. You cannot refill this bar, so yeah, that's about it. Let me quickly go over combos, and then how to deal better with teamers, and then I'm gonna be out of here. Okay, now some very quick tips about getting teamed on. I'ma be real, there's not a lot you can do, but I'll try my best. The first strategy that I recommend is the secret Joestar technique. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. If the enemy is around your skill level, or even worse, they're just gonna whoop you. This game is not designed for you to get jumped. And unless you have your ultimate mode, yeah, you're probably not gonna win, but since you want to try anyway, here's some tips from me. Keep the teamers in your field of vision. You don't want them to attack you from different angles, so as long as they're right in front of you, you can possibly fight against it. The more angles that they can attack you from, they can interrupt you and catch you off guard, and obviously this gets worse the more you're getting teamed on, so be careful about that. If you manage to land an M1 or a dash, just do one of it and then run away, just dash. They're gonna jump in and hit each other. That's your time to strike. Usually, again, not gonna work always, you're most likely screwed, but this is how you make the best of the situation. Lastly, of course, pop that damn ult. Just do it. And the thing is, that ult usually doesn't mean you automatically win, unless you're maybe like Gojo and you manage to jump and use a max blue on them. Popping domain obviously helps. Using Hakari's domain to initiate a 1v1 from the other people. The thing is, if you don't get lucky, your domain might just get broken from the outside because they're jumping in. Overall, you're kind of screwed, but this is the best I can come up with for the moment. That's about it. I'm tired. Bye.